Everyone calling this a mismatch is wrong. Nick Aldis can actually beat Gunther at SummerSlam. Stop calling this a mismatch. I mean it. Every single reaction video, every comment section, every lazy hot take since this match got confirmed has said the exact same thing. Gunther is going to walk through Nick Aldis at SummerSlam. This is a squash waiting to happen. Don't even bother watching. And I am here to tell you that take is exactly as shallow as it sounds, and I'm going to prove it to you in the next several minutes. Because here's what none of those reaction videos are actually accounting for. Nick Aldis is not some office worker who accidentally wandered into a wrestling ring. This is a seasoned veteran, a man who has been humiliated, disrespected, and physically assaulted by Gunther over and over across the past several weeks. And he is walking into Minneapolis with something Gunther's usual opponents almost never have. Absolutely nothing left to lose. Think about that phrase for a second, because it matters more than people realize. Every competitor who stepped into the ring with Gunther over the past 2 years has done so carrying fear. Fear of his power, fear of his reputation, fear of becoming just another name on his highlight reel. Nick Aldis doesn't have that fear. He's already been humiliated as publicly and as thoroughly as possible. There's nowhere further down for him to fall. And a man with nothing left to protect is one of the most dangerous opponents in this entire business. Comment below right now and tell me if you've been sleeping on Nick Aldis' actual chances at SummerSlam. And stick around, because I'm about to break down exactly why this match is nowhere near the lopsided mismatch everyone's making it out to be. Let's get into it. Let's start by actually addressing the elephant in the room, because I understand why people default to mismatch. The second they hear this match announced, Gunther's entire reputation has been built on dominance. Years have made him look genuinely unbeatable, a competitor who doesn't just win matches, he ends them decisively, brutally, and often before his opponent even gets a real chance to fight back. So on the surface, pitting him against a general manager with a comparatively lighter recent in-ring resume looks, at a glance, like an obvious lopsided booking decision. But that surface-level read completely ignores everything that's actually built this rivalry to this point. This isn't some random authority figure getting thrown into the deep end for a one-off angle. This is the culmination of weeks of genuine, personal, escalating conflict, humiliation, disrespect, physical confrontation, all of it building toward a genuine grudge match. And grudge matches, historically, do not always follow the pure competitive logic that mismatch framing relies on. Emotion, motivation, and desperation change outcomes in this business all the time, and anyone dismissing this match without accounting for that is doing lazy analysis, not real analysis. Here's the piece of this puzzle I think matters more than anything else: the psychological dynamic between these two men heading into this match. Think about virtually every opponent Gunther has faced over the past couple of years. Even talented, accomplished competitors have gone into that ring carrying some degree of hesitation, some awareness of exactly how dominant and dangerous he is. That hesitation, even in small amounts, matters. It affects split-second decisions. It affects aggression levels. It affects whether a competitor fights to win or fights simply to survive. Nick Aldis doesn't have that hesitation working against him, and here's why. This is a man who has already been humiliated as badly as it gets. He's been disrespected publicly. He's been physically assaulted. Whatever fear of Gunther might have existed before all of this started has already been replaced by something much more dangerous from a competitive standpoint: motivation. Clear, focused, personal motivation to prove that Gunther is not the untouchable force he's built his reputation on being. A competitor with nothing left to lose fights differently than a competitor who's still protecting something: his reputation, his unbeaten record, his position in the pecking order. Aldis isn't worried about any of that anymore. He's already been through the worst of it, and that frees him up to fight with a level of recklessness and desperation that Gunther's usual opponents simply don't bring into that ring. Now here's a wrinkle in this story that I don't think enough people are talking about, and it could end up mattering a great deal heading into SummerSlam. Before this Aldis showdown even happens, Gunther is scheduled for a tag team match at Madison Square Garden, teaming with Sami Zayn against Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. On paper, that's just another obstacle on the road to SummerSlam. But look closer at the dynamic here, because there's real risk buried in this matchup. Gunther is not a natural team player. His entire identity is built on individual dominance, on being a lone force that doesn't need anyone else's help to get the job done. Pairing him with Sami Zayn, a competitor with a completely different in-ring style and a completely different approach to competition, creates real potential for friction. If Gunther refuses to work cohesively with Zayn, if his stubbornness and his need for individual control cause any kind of breakdown in that match, that's not just a risk to the outcome of a tag team bout. That's the kind of frustration that can carry over mentally into SummerSlam itself. Think about what it would mean for Gunther to walk into his match against Nick Aldis, already carrying frustration from a tag team breakdown days earlier, already feeling like his control has been tested, like things aren't going according to plan. A mentally compromised Gunther, even slightly compromised, is a very different competitor than the completely locked-in, dominant force everyone assumes is walking into Minneapolis. That's a real variable that the mismatch crowd isn't accounting for at all. Let's talk about why WWE might actually want Nick Aldis to win this match, beyond just the in-ring drama, because there's a real structural argument here worth considering. For years, authority figures in WWE storylines have largely existed in one of two modes: either purely administrative figures who never get physically involved, or figures who occasionally interfere, but almost always rely on other people to handle the actual physical confrontation for them. What Nick Aldis represents, if he wins this match, is something genuinely different: proof that an authority figure can step between the ropes and win on his own merit, without needing rescue, without needing outside help, without simply existing as a target for dominant heels to make an example out of. That shift matters for the long-term credibility of authority storylines across the entire show. If Aldis wins, it sends a message that general managers in this company are not just paper pushers who exist to be pushed around by whichever competitor decides to target them. It establishes real teeth behind that position, and that has ripple effects for how future authority figure storylines get taken seriously by the audience going forward. Now, I know Triple H hasn't made a formal on-screen announcement of this match yet, and I understand why some of you might be treating this as speculation rather than confirmed fact. But here's why I'm confident this is happening. Reports from PWInsider Elite and Fightful, two of the most reliable outlets in this entire industry when it comes to legitimate backstage information, have both confirmed that this match is locked in for the SummerSlam card. These aren't random rumor accounts. These are outlets with genuine track records of accuracy when it comes to reporting actual creative plans before they're publicly announced. So while we're waiting on the official on-screen confirmation, I'd treat this as close to certain as it gets heading into the show. Here's my honest take, and I want to know if you're with me on this. Dismissing this match as a simple mismatch ignores everything that's actually built this rivalry. The humiliation, the disrespect, the psychological dynamic of a man with nothing left to lose stepping into the ring against a competitor who's never had to face an opponent quite like this before. It ignores the real risk sitting in Gunther's path at Madison Square Garden, where his own stubbornness could leave him mentally compromised before he even gets to Minneapolis. And it ignores what a genuine victory for Nick Aldis would actually mean for how authority figures get perceived across this entire product going forward. This isn't a squash match waiting to happen. This is a genuine grudge match with real psychological stakes, and I think anyone writing it off before the bell even rings is going to end up looking foolish by the time SummerSlam actually happens. So here's what I want to know. Drop a comment right now and tell me. Are you actually giving Nick Aldis a real chance at SummerSlam, or do you think Gunther handles this exactly the way everyone expects? And do you think that Madison Square Garden tag match ends up mentally rattling Gunther heading into this showdown? If this breakdown changed how you're looking at this match, smash that like button, drop your prediction below, and share this with every wrestling fan who's been sleeping on Nick Aldis' actual chances heading into SummerSlam. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because I'll be tracking every single update on this match as we get closer to the show. This is Ring Rumble. I'll see you in the next one.